had a long and illustrious career and now has devoted the majority of his time in the sweet science to developing and training, coaching the problem child. They were victorious on Saturday at the Desert Diamond Arena. And now I'm curious about what is next, but let's talk about what happened first on Saturday with Jake's head coach, BJ Flores, who's kind enough to join us right now. Hello, BJ. How are you? Okay, BJ, you there?
Appreciate you having me on. I really do. I just got to clarify that Danny Smith and I are co-trainers for Jake. I'm not the head coach. We both train him. We're all a team. We're a solid team, and we just all work together to make Jake the best possible version of himself. But we're all really excited.
Okay, fair enough. And I apologize for that. I know Danny was your former coach, right? And you brought him in. Yes. And that's a great story. So not trying to slight him in any regard, just trying to give you all the props that you deserve.
It's all right. I don't need the props. I was a small part, so it's all good.
Fair enough. What did you make of his performance on Saturday?
There's a lot of different parts of the fight. I feel like Jake did a hell of a job in a lot of different aspects. But first and foremost, the one thing with a fighter with the ring IQ of someone like Anderson Silva, you're going to have some moments that are tough, and you're going to have some very difficult moments. And Jake was able to come back from those moments. Anderson had a great round 2. He had a very good round 5. Round 6 was very tough as well. And Jake was able to go back and make adjustments in between rounds and do the things we were telling him to do to make adjustments so Anderson would not continue to be successful. And, I thought Jake did a tremendous job. He showed a lot of heart. He fought with a guy who has way more experience than him, has been in with the best fighters in the world, but he really bit down. And that's still only the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot left that Jake Paul people have no idea about. He's got a lot more to show.
So if we would have spoken before the fight and I would have said, like, okay, how do you see this fight playing out? What would you have said, and how does that compare to how it actually played out?
I mean, Anderson's a hell of a champion. I mean, there's nothing this guy is so incredible at 47 years old. I mean, we got to remember the reign that Anderson Silva had from 2006 to 2013 as the middleweight champion. I mean, he beat the best grapplers, the best strikers, Olympic level wrestlers. His ring IQ, whether it's in the cage or in the boxing ring, he's always able to find a way to win. I mean, the guy went almost 2,500 days as a champion. So this guy didn't just accidentally become the GOAT of the MMA world. So in any situation, this is the type of guy who finds a way to win. And like I said, we knew it was going to be a very tough test. We just knew our game plan fighting against the southpaw like Anderson, how to attack him and how to take away some of his strengths to put him on the back foot a little more. And that's kind of what we tried to do. We controlled the ring. We moved to our left side. We focused on the body shots. We focused on a lot on the taunts and the feints and making an older fighter reset every time and get reset up. And that was the key to Jake being able to get off so much over the 8 rounds.
It seemed like a lot of people were surprised at his inactivity, especially early on and at some points in the fight. Were you surprised by that?
No, I wasn't, because Jake was doing a lot of things that offset Anderson's activity. Like as a professional fighter, and Jake is learning these small nuances, how to take a fighter's best strengths away from him. For example, Anderson's very effective when he gets close. He's very effective with the left uppercut. He's very good at controlling range. He's got very good defense and very good head movement. This guy does a lot of things really, really good. And our entire game plan was to take those strengths of Anderson away. So I wasn't surprised how tough Anderson came. Some of the shots he took, I was a little surprised. But like Jake knows, he's got to keep working. We're not just going to hit everybody and they're going to go down. So the whole game plan was one round at a time. Let's make sure we focus this one at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves thinking about the knockout, and let's just chop down the tree round by round. And I think we saw a little bit of that in round 8.
One of the things that really impressed me about Jake in this fight, as opposed to last year against Woodley, was his gas tank. In the first Woodley fight, it seemed like he got tired as the fight went on. And we've heard in the past from fighters, like Conor McGregor, probably most notably in MMA, was criticized for his gas tank. And people said that was one of his weaknesses and that you can't get better at that. It's not something you can work on your right hand, your left hand, whatever, but the gas tank is your gas tank. Did you feel like he got better in that regard? And are you impressed with how, going 8 rounds at his age and with his lack of experience is a lot harder, I think, than people understand? Has this surprised you?
I mean, Ariel, you're a fight guy, so you understand that. But to be honest with you, it is very difficult to explain to somebody how tough it is to go 8 rounds in a high-level fight with a world-class fighter. I don't care what it is. And Anderson Silva is not just an MMA fighter. This guy has incredible hands. He would beat a lot of cruiserweights out there today in professional boxing. He does a lot of things very, very well. He came in very focused. Jake's gas tank, he's just getting more comfortable in the ring. So he's learning how to relax more, how to focus more on his tools, and how to focus more on what he does well, and his defense has gotten way better, and that's a big credit to Danny Smith. Danny came in last October. I brought him into camp, and I feel like he just brings so many things to the drawing board. He's such a great coach, and always one of my favorite people, and one of my favorite trainers, and a very sharp boxing mind. So I brought him in to help, and he's been such a massive benefit for the team and Jake, and teaching him little things. And it's just been a great experience. So Jake's gas tank is only going to get better. He's learning to relax more in the ring, and like I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
For context, when did you start working with Jake?
I was with Jake in December of 2019 before the Gibb fight.
Okay.
So that was my first fight with him.
So his entire pro career.
Yeah, his entire pro career. So it's been a fun ride watching this all go down. And like I said, I mean, this kid works like people have no idea. I mean, this kid's such a hard worker and such a dedicated, focused, locked in young man. It's been a really fun thing to be a part of.
So we're approaching 3 years since you started working with him.
Yes.
Honestly, 3 years ago we speak. Do you think he's this far along? Are you surprised? Like, what were your expectations?
I told him a long time ago, the first couple times I sparred with him, I said, look, man, you've got some ability. If you lock in and you focus, I mean, before Jake even believed it, Jake didn't know how tough he was or how good he could be, but I knew we had a lot of work to do, and we had a long ways to go, a long road ahead of us. But like I said, if anybody tells you that the road to the top is going to be easy, they're lying to you. They don't know what they're talking about. So I said, look, man, we got to make a lot of changes. We got to do a lot of things. We got to relocate. We got to make a lot of changes in our personal lives to make sure if you want to get to this level. If you don't want to get to this level, no problem. But we got to make changes if we want to do it. And Jake took it on the chin, and he did everything. He did everything we asked, and we switched locations, and he got more locked in, and we started doing things more consistently. And our schedule every day was detailed and routine. So I'm really not surprised by it, to be honest with you. I mean, this kid, the potential is unlimited. He's got so much ability, and he's got such an amazing, a crowd and an audience he's just so charismatic, and people want to see everything he does, win or lose. He's got a lot of people that want to watch him. So I'm really not surprised by it at all. I mean, this kid's a star. I said that from the beginning. He's always been a star.
And so with all that said, he wins fair and square. He knocks down Anderson. And then you go online and it's like, well, he's fighting old guys. He's fighting MMA fighters. Like, there's very little credit being thrown his way, being thrown your way. When you see this stuff, how does that make you feel?
Errol, what do you think about that? And what do you think about which version of Anderson Silva that came to the ring, how tough and how good he was? Like, how much credit should a 5-0 guy get for beating that fighter?
Oh, man. I mean, I said it on the show Monday. I said it on the broadcast. I mean, if you can't respect what he's doing, and I think the world of Anderson, I even said at the beginning of the broadcast, the disrespect that was being shown Anderson's way. It's like a year ago, we praised him for beating Julio Cesar Chavez, and now he's too old, and now he's a bum. And most of these people don't know who he is and how good he is. 47 for Anderson isn't 47 for me. I'm a much different 47. When I become 47, right? Like, the guy is a special human being. And so it frustrates me, but I'm not as invested as you are. I'm not living and breathing this. So to see so many people not willing to give him credit, does that drive you nuts?
No, it doesn't. Honestly, there's always going to be haters. We're fine. We're still doing our thing. It's all good. Jake is very locked in and focused on his boxing career. He's taking it very seriously. And, people will come around, and if they don't, that's their prerogative. It's no problem. We still have a job to do, and we still go out there and work and hustle every day like it's our last day. One of our sayings in camp is, no pressure, no diamond. We embrace the pressure. We take the pressure. We take the insults and the compliments. We take it all, and we deal with it the best we can. So, we're really locked into just, making sure Jake's the best version of himself. We don't really read too much online. People are going to say what they want. There's always going to be haters. So you can never make everyone happy.
One thing to not give him credit, say Anderson's all this, that. The one that really gets uncomfortable is like the fight rigging stuff. Oh, it's fake. It's fake. It's fixed. It's fixed. That's got to drive you nuts, no?
I mean, it's just people that are ignorant or uneducated. They don't know what they're watching. It's just tough to, you know what I mean? I can't really go down to that level and have to have a conversation with people about why it's not fake, or I just can't even, you know what I mean? So I don't even really pay attention to that.
Why do you think people are so unwilling to give him credit?
Because it's unbelievable. It really is. It's like he just started boxing like barely 3 years ago, and he's beating in the boxing ring. I know it's not the MMA world, and it's not in the UFC. I get that, but he's beating some of the 10 and 15 years ago, and even 5 years ago. He's beating some of the biggest names out there in the combat sports world. So it's tough to come to grasp with what he's doing. And a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people love it, and a lot of people just are kind of in between right now, and they think it's great entertainment. So either way, like I said, we appreciate all the supporters, all the haters, whoever doesn't believe it, no problem. Nobody has to buy the fight if they don't want to, and we appreciate it all. So like I said, we're locked in on what we got to do, on what we got next, who we want to fight next, and what we're going to do. And we're not really worried about all the negative comments.
And I want to ask you about that. But recently you actually posted the now infamous clip of Dana White saying, like, I can guarantee you Jake's not going to fight Anderson, Jake, all that stuff. And I have to ask you about something, because I think you were replying to someone who was like, hey, tell Jake to fight Anderson. And your reply was, I think we have the reply. Do you know what I'm referring to? You said something like, this guy writes, Anderson Silva makes sense since Tommy pulled out. This was 8 weeks ago. And you wrote, does he? 48-year-old MMA fighter with a question mark. It sounded at the time like you weren't interested in this fight, or you didn't think that this fight proved anything. Why did you change your stance? Or did you not change your stance?
Oh, I definitely changed my stance. The thing is, because we backed, Hasim Rockman backed out, Tommy Fury backed out. Anderson's not a guy you bring in on a week's notice as a backup opponent. It's a full promotion. He's a champion. He needs time to get ready. I don't care what he says. He wouldn't be ready in a week. You need a full 3-month promotion for a fight with Anderson Silva. It doesn't make sense to bring him in on a back end like that. So, we got him in the right circumstance, the right situation. Jake's manager, Nikisa, set that up and made sure Anderson had enough time to prepare and give this type of fight the credit and the recognition that it deserves. And we did it right now. So, like I said, that was kind of taken out of context, and there was more things said than just that. But it's the internet, so you can't really worry too much about it. So
this is a really important thing that we just did, because that little screen grab is circulating, but context is important. What you're saying is that exchange happened when the whole Tommy Hasim thing happened. So this guy was saying for him to step in to save the day for August 6th is what you're talking about.
Yes, it was after Hasim already backed out. So it was Tommy and Hasim. And then it was like 6 days before. You don't bring in a GOAT like Anderson Silva on 6 days notice. He needs time to get ready and prepare. We need time to promote the fight. That's a massive main event. It's way bigger than Tommy and Hasim. It's way bigger than that. Okay. And it needs proper promotion. And I didn't really defend it or say anything at the time. I just let it wash under, but it's all good. That's what was actually meant.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. So speaking of the likes of Tommy and Hasim, the big thing now is, okay, let's see him fight a boxer. Would you like to see him fight a boxer next?
100%. And I would have liked to seen him fight either one of those guys, in August, but it didn't work out. I'm not even going to get into the reasons. Tommy said he couldn't get into the country. Okay, no problem. Hasim agreed to a weight and then didn't come within 5 pounds of that, and didn't even come within pounds of that. So you got to do what you say when you sign a contract. You got to follow it, unfortunately, but you got to follow it. Otherwise, these types of events won't take place. And really, Jake fought this last fight at 187. So even agreeing to fight at 200 was more than I was comfortable with. And then we agreed to 5 more pounds, 205. And that was way more than I was comfortable with. But he wouldn't even agree to that. So it's like, look, if you don't want to fight, we'll just move on and keep it moving.
Okay, so do you have an opponent in mind? Like, if it was up to you, if Jake came up to you right now and said, all right, BJ, who's next? You pick. Who are you saying?
I do. But can you keep a secret?
Sure, yeah, just between me and you.
Yeah, so can I. So no.
Oh, okay. You don't want to share?
Can't tell you. Yeah, we got a couple names that we're looking at, and that's all I can say about it. Like I said, for negotiation and reasons like that, I can't say. But
got it.
It's going to be someone good, and we're looking forward to it. Jake wants the biggest names, the biggest challenges, and he deserves those types of fights. He's taking care of these guys. He's paying these guys well. He's giving them full training camps. He's letting these guys really come in the best version of themselves and paying them more than they've ever made. So it's fun to be a part of it, but it'll be someone very high quality. Okay. So, but you don't, I totally respect the fact that you don't want to tell me. It's fine, but do you have a number one choice in your mind? I actually, to be honest with you, I really don't.
Okay.
There's a couple guys I think that could work, and it's just tough. After beating someone like Anderson, like, where do you go from there? Mm-hmm. There's other guys we could fight, of course, but obviously Jake and Nikisa are going to be, they're the ones that are going to, help really make that decision. But at the end of the day, we'll all sit at the table and decide what makes the most sense. And, Nikisa is a massive part of that. And it's got to be someone who Jake is okay with. And, Jake's okay with anybody. So that's real easy. Like, you throw any name in front of Jake, he'll take it. But Nikisa and Danny and I, we want to make sure and talk and make sure it's the best opportunity, the best situation for Jake.
Could I ask the people that you have in mind? Are they all boxers?
There's a couple on there. There's a couple boxers. Yes.
Okay, like legit,
Yes.
like guys like a Tommy or a Hasim, etc.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily Asim, but I mean, guys like Tommy or guys like, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
couple boxers on there.
So
And there's a couple MMA fighters too that would make sense too. So again, like I said, I can't really specify on
yeah.
that at all, but we'll see what happens in the next few weeks.
So on Monday we had Tommy on the show. Obviously he wasn't very complimentary and said that he can beat him easily. He could beat him in KSI on the same night. All the stuff that you would expect him to say. You've tried to book that fight twice now, and they have fallen through, no fault of your own. Would you be comfortable going through a whole other training camp to fight him again if they tried to book it for next year?
I would rather not, honestly. I feel like a cat can't change its stripes sometimes, and whatever. Maybe it's out of his control. Maybe he really couldn't get in the country. Maybe he really did suffer a real injury the other time. I don't know, but it just seems kind of weird to me that two different times he wasn't able to actually make it to the ring, and he wasted a lot of people's time, wasted Showtime's time, wasted a lot of people's money, training camp money, a lot of people's time on a fight that never actually happened. So I'd prefer it not, but if that's the direction that Nikisa and Jake want to go, so be it. There's other people on the list as well, so it's not
Okay.
just him.
And just curious, because you've had to do this yourself, Jake fighting in the UK, that could be hostile. You don't know about the judges and whatnot. How would you feel about that if Tommy says, hey, I can't come over? And it sounds like Jake wants to do it. It sounds like he's down, which would be quite the spectacle. How would you feel about that?
Hey, we love the UK, man. We love it. We absolutely love it out there. Jake fought Deji out there almost 3 years ago, and he's always talked about wanting to go back. Jake doesn't care where we fight. You just got to throw Jake in a ring. He does not care. But Nikisa will look at that and see if that makes sense, and we'll all talk about it at the end of the day and see if it makes sense. But I don't think it matters the location too much. Jake doesn't feel like the Tommy fight goes the distance. He's not really worried about that. And I think just going kind of circling back to what Tommy was saying, you can beat them both in the same night. You got to remember, he's a young kid. You know what I mean? He really is. He's a young kid, and he's got a lot to learn from his older brother Tyson, who obviously speaks very well, and he's the heavyweight champion. I mean, you don't really go saying things like that, like I'm going to do all this and do that, and then back out 2 times the fights. I mean, kind of just be quiet until the fight happens, and then you can kind of go off making those bold statements again. But he's just a young man. I'm sure he's just trying to hype the fight up, and we'll make sense. He needs us a lot more than we need him.
Yeah. What do you make of Tommy as a fighter now? Because people keep throwing his name out, but you could also make the case that he hasn't been overly impressive, right?
I mean, who's he beat? When's he ever been a main event? When's he ever been, how many pay-per-views he ever sold? You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't be a good opponent for Jake. He's 7-0, I think now, 8-0, whatever he is, but he hasn't really fought anybody yet. And a lot of people say that about Jake, but Anderson Silva beats Tommy Fury, and I don't care what anybody says. He beats him one-sidedly, no question about it. And, even Tyron Woodley might give him a lot of problems as well, but I just think Jake's level of opposition and the big events that Jake's been in far outweigh what Tommy's done. But we'll see. Again, we'll see if it makes sense. And like I said, we can't really comment on that too much. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's a very difficult fight for Jake. No.
I have to ask you about one specific MMA fighter because, of course, it's like the big, one that we're all talking about. It's Nathan Diaz. He was there. Yeah. It seems like we're on a collision course potentially next year for these two. And I'm seeing a lot of people kind of actually dismiss Diaz's chances. Even Michael Bisping on his show this week saying he didn't think that it was going to be a tough fight for Jake and whatnot. Could I ask how you think a fight against Diaz would go? And do you think it would be tougher? Jake on the show on Monday on this show said he thinks Anderson is tougher than Jake. Anderson is tougher than Nate. Nate would be a step down. How do you feel?
I mean, I agree with Jake. I feel like, Anderson's got way more skills than Nate, but I think there's just the toughness of Nate that people just love. You know what I mean? There's the big fights that Nate's been in, all the massive mega events that he's been a part of. His doesn't care, no fear, he'll fight anybody. I think people like that and respect that. I think a fight, with Nate in California would do some big numbers. I really do. So again, I don't think Nate is as skilled as Anderson Silva. I don't. I think Silva is on another level as far as that goes. He's very, very good. He's got the head movement and the defense, which coming from the MMA world, that's the one thing that's very difficult to come to grasp with in the boxing ring. It's such a massive difference. But I just think Nate's such an entertaining fighter. There's never a bad Nate Diaz fight. So It doesn't. I would love it. I would support it 100%, and I love that fight for Jake too.
I asked Jake on Monday about this, and I'm curious to get your stance because you're a former pro boxer. You know about this very well. Often, when boxers reach a certain point and make a certain amount of money, the fire goes away, right? Like you don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. anymore. You don't want to get punched. You don't want to spar. You don't want to train. It's natural, right? You start to make all this money, and you're like, all right, I made it. Screw this. Jake already has a ton of money, and it's very rare for someone his age with his amount of fights, so few, to have this kind of money. Do you ever worry, like, all right, this is going to be come 10 fights, he's going to say, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't need to cut weight. I don't need to wake up. I'm good. I've got millions upon millions of dollars. It's different, right? It's not your typical 6-7-0 boxer. Do you worry about that sort of thing, the motivation with him?
Not at all. Whenever he feels like the time that he wants to go in another direction in his career and his life, whenever he feels like that time has come, we'll all do it, and we'll all be very grateful and very happy. He's gonna have a nice run of the next couple of years, trust me. But whenever he's done, he's done, and I don't worry about anything as far as the money with him because he's not money motivated at all. He's trying to create a movement. He's trying to build, mentor, create. He's trying to help up and coming youth. He's trying to encourage people to start boxing. Jake says boxing saved his life. Jake says boxing turned his entire life around. His daily schedule, his routine, his focus, it completely changed it all. And he wants to help teach other young men and young women that they can also do that. And that's really a big component of what Jake is. He really likes that, and he enjoys it. And he knows he's in a good place right now to where he can affect a lot of young men and young women to, believe in themselves and not to give up on themselves and not to think, hey, I can't do it because so-and-so told me I can't do it. And Jake welcomes it, and he loves helping people like that. He really does. It's really something.
Yeah, and you guys are doing that with your Boxing Bullies charity, so much respect on that. Perfect world
Did
for
a
you.
party on Monday. What was he doing on the Monday right after the fight?
Right.
He's doing a Boxing Bullies event in the fire department in Scottsdale, Arizona. Like, show me what other fighters who are making the money Jake's making are not out partying somewhere or whatever. That really is who Jake is. I mean, he's really that person now. He's made a massive transition over the last, 2.5, 3 years, and that's really who he is. And that's really what he enjoys doing now. So he's right back to work, and he's all about giving. And he donated large, chunks of money to charities and boxing gyms in Scottsdale to help him renovate, and did the Boxing Bullies event for the kids, and does all kinds of things to give back to the community and the charity wherever he's at, to make sure whenever he leaves, it's a better place than when he got there.
In a perfect world, in your perfect world, when does he return?
When does he what?
When does he return? When does he fight again?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I would like for him to take a few weeks off rest. We've been in like a 6-month training camp. We were supposed to fight August 6th against Tommy Fury and then Nassim Rockman. So we were already training. I got to Puerto Rico May 5th for that.
Wow.
We were in camp a long time, 3 months before. We took about a week off after the August 6th fight, and then we got right back into camp. So it's been a long time we've been in training camp, and Jake's been busting his ass for 6 months straight without really knowing who was going to fight the first 3 months. So he's been in camp. I'd like for him to have a few weeks off, but I guarantee by next week he's already going to be, hey, what's going on? What are we doing? Let's get back. And he'll be running and working out, shadow boxing and stuff like that. And we'll probably get back into camp at the end of this month or early December.
Is he the only guy that you train right now?
Yeah, he is. He is, and it's taken all my attention. So it's been,
do you want to train more, or are you okay with just one guy?
Man, I'm great with it. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of those situations that me and Jake were just both in the right place at the right time, and just how it worked out and where we're at now. Like I said, he made a lot of good decisions. The main reason why he is where he's at right now is because of Jake. The second good reason why he's where he's at is because he put good people around him to make sure that we drove him and helped him to make sure he got to that finish line. He's not there yet, but he's getting there, and he's got the right mentality to make sure he goes as far as he possibly can. So he's very intelligent with putting good people around him. He's got an excellent group of guys on his team, from Danny Smith, from myself to Jacob Chavez to Bob to Ocean to Jay Leone to Marcos to Gus to Carl, to everybody on the team. Everybody's got a role, and everybody does their job very, very well. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of. So I think we've all heard the saying, like, choose 5 friends that are in a better place or smarter than you are. You always want to be the dumbest guy in the room. That way you're always learning and getting better. And Jake's very good at putting good people around him.
And by the way, what about for you? I thought you did great doing TV work, analyst work, NBC, stuff like that. No more? You're not going to do that anymore?
it was fun. It was a just part of the road that got me to where I'm at now. And I'm at a different phase in my life right now where I'm all about building, creating, mentoring, helping. My life goal, honestly, is to help create opportunities for other people. And that's what I'm focused on right now. And if I can squeeze some commentating things on here and there when I'm not training Jake, then so be it. And if I can't, then I'm on a different path right now. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm very happy and grateful to be where I'm at. And I'm happy to have, hundreds of kids DMing me every day, asking me how to, what they should do about this bully and how, if they're doing their boxing stance right and asking me all these questions. And I'm happy to answer those questions. And I'm happy to be at a point in my life where I can, kids look to me for things like that. So that's more what I'm focused on right now. And I think in the big picture, that's a lot more important.
Final thing, if I can ask, is there one thing in particular, and maybe there's more than one, that you don't feel like he gets enough credit and love for, that you wish people would understand about Jake, that you wish people would recognize about him as a boxer, what he's doing out there in such a short amount of time? Is there something that really gnaws at you that you wish people, smart people who understand just how technical and tough boxing is would appreciate?
I think the main thing Jake does is he lifts everybody up around him. Everybody who comes into his circle, they're in a better place when they leave. And he's a very generous and a very giving guy. And he shares. He's all about the team. He really is. And he's such a giver. And he has meetings with everybody on the team after each fight. And he asks them, so like, hey, what can I do better? What are you happy with? Things like that. And he's really just a down to earth guy when it comes down to it with the team. I mean, with the people that he works with every day. We all love him to death. We'd all, go to battle for him. We'd go down right with him if he went down. We all really would. And that's how we feel about each other. But he's just that kind of guy. He's a giving guy. He's very charitable. He's very nice. He's got a very, very, very big heart. He really does. And people haven't seen that part of him yet, but they will. And the more he's in the limelight, the more people will see how much of a giver and how much of a creator and how much of a massive potential or a positive figure for young kids, how much of a role model he's going to be in the next 2 years. Kids that are teenagers now, when they're grown up, will say, hey, I remember Jake Paul, and he made a positive impact in my life.
Great stuff, BJ. Thank you very much for the time. Congrats on the win. Congrats on everything you guys have done up until this point. I can't wait to see what you do in 2023.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you guys having me on, and stay tuned. Thanks again.
All right, there he is, BJ Flores, the co-head coach, if you will, head trainer for one Jake Paul. Big win for him on Saturday.